Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk. Tonight, our special MLB 2024 preview show. And I'll be joined in a second by my co-host, Drew Ehrlich, our local baseball savant, if you will. And we'll go through all the divisions. We'll go through both leagues and pick our playoff teams and eventual league champions and World Series winners and award winners. And we'll take your comments as much as we can during the night as well. We'll go as long as we have to. This show, by the way, will be repeated on Roku at midnight tonight and probably a couple of times maybe this week. And I want to welcome everybody who's watching live on TGI Sports Talk's Facebook page, our YouTube page, Twitter, which I know isn't Twitter anymore, but I just can't. Also, Northeast Streaming Sports, as I mentioned before, not only on the Roku later, which we'll say hello to you now, but also on the Facebook and YouTube feeds. And, of course, Let's Talk Sports YouTube feed as well. Thumbs up, DDH. And I guess we'll give a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. I was on with him at 5 o'clock in Pittsburgh today. We had some fun for a few minutes there. Talked about some baseball and some NCAA tournament stuff. But Ralph does some great stuff, specifically the Sports Corner with Smoke and Jim Frazier, 4 to 6 p.m. every Tuesday over there at WBVP Radio. So check that stuff out. We're going to jump into it here, guys. Hopefully, let's see who's with us here real quick. Dave Guyette's with us as I bring in the aforementioned Drew Ehrlich. How are you, Drew?
I'm doing fine. I hope people let us know right away if they have any sound difficulties.
Yeah, let me know if I'm echoing or Drew's echoing. We know we have a couple issues, and I'm going to try to stay on top of them and correct them as we go. It won't be our optimal audio experience, but we'll work through it because that's what we do. Drew, are you ready for baseball to start?
I've been ready for baseball to start since it ended.
You know, I got to tell you, what's Dave got here? It's going to be a long season for the Yankees. Yes, we'll get into the Yankees, and I'm going to let Drew, before we get started, I'll let him pick where we start tonight. But I will say, as far as opening day goes, and I know I mentioned it, I think Sunday. I probably mentioned it quite a bit. I know you weren't around Sunday, but why are we opening up in Korea? I mean, first of all, why can't we go back to the days where Cincinnati gets it all by themselves because it was a great tradition, the oldest team and a professional team in baseball, and they had opening day to themselves for decades. But we can't stick with historic things. We got to first that went away, and now we're playing in different countries. So I just don't know.
There's no money in it.
There's money. They're making enough money, man. Jeepers creepers, Chris is here with us. Dave sounds like God talking. Or is that Dave or Chris? Drew, I hope you mean Drew. Because you can't hear Dave Guyette. If you're hearing Dave Guyette, Chris, then we got to talk about what you're hearing. And JB's here from the Back It Up Binge podcast. Check out JB's stuff. Really good stuff. He's a giant, Orioles fan. Hello. Jeez. Good grief, staring me right in the face. Love the Orioles this year. So we'll get into all of that. So anyway, opening day. When is it? Tomorrow? Is it
28th.
28th, right. That's what I said. Thursday. So we're in.
Well, tomorrow's the 27th.
There's going to be a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in baseball. Oh, I meant Thursday. Sorry. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on in baseball, which we'll talk about as part of this show. I don't want to make it the main topic because we could talk for 2 hours about everything going on and whether this is good or bad. But we'll talk about that when the time comes up. So I'm going to let you pick where we start tonight.
Well, start the same place we always do, the AL East.
Danny Fuller, hello. Our resident Dodger fan pops in. We'll get to him a little later. The American League.
Much later.
Much later. But there's stuff to talk about there, obviously. So let's start in the East. And obviously, on paper, you would have thought this is a really good division other than the Red Sox. And with injuries, which are certainly a big topic this spring because there's injuries everywhere. I'm not sure what to make of this. I don't know if this is the best division in baseball, or potentially there's going to be 4 bad teams here because of injuries and other issues. What are your thoughts in general about? I think the Orioles are the class of this division, but I'm not really sure where to go other than put the Red Sox in 5th, and the rest is kind of a mess.
Well, yeah. The main thing, you've got it. We've got the endpoints. We got the Orioles. We got the Red Sox. So I think part of the problem is the other 3 are going to be close.
Injuries.
They all have weaknesses.
Injuries and holes in lineups or rotations or both, right? I mean, let's start at the top. I mean, the Orioles, I still think, are the class of this division. I know there's some injury issues in the rotation early on, but I think that them finally going out and getting an ace in Corbin Burns is huge. It's bigger than I can even speak to. I mean, we know we're going to see Holiday here probably, I don't know, whatever, mid-May, June, whatever they decide to. They've saved enough money, which I never understand, by the way, either. Why do we do this? You know, they're going to get their money eventually. You put it off for a year, what's the big deal? I still think they're the best team in the division. I think they're they're built the way teams should probably start thinking about building teams. I like their rotation, even though they've got some issues early on. I think having Burns, and now you've got a lineup and maybe a third straight top 2 finisher anyway. I think one of them, didn't Rauschman win, and I think was, or I got it backwards, Henderson. Yeah. So Holiday's going to be another guy in that class. It reminded me of the Dodgers. You remember the Dodgers? You had that run of Rookie of the Years, well, decades ago now, but they had a great run. This kind of reminds me of that. Do you think this team is good enough? They won 100 games last year. I think they win 100 games this year, unless the bottom falls out of injury-wise, and maybe some of these starters don't come back. But I love the way this team is built.
I've got them down for 97 wins, mainly because of losing Bradish and Means right away. Means is going to come back. The Burns pickup was really interesting. This is not typical Orioles. To make a trade like that, to give up some.
Well, now I just muted him again. I can't believe it. Oh, they're back, I think. Go ahead.
I am back.
Yeah, I think if you push that button, it might knock you out for a second.
Keith is low and I'm too high. Danny.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we're going to have to kind of deal with it because we're having a little audio issue. We're not sure where it's come from. We played for a while before the game, but anyway, before the game. Sorry, before we started talking. But anyway, finish up about the Orioles. You got them at 97. 97 is still pretty good. Their over-under is only 89, which I think that's an easy over bet myself, especially as I think the rest of these teams in this division might underperform.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way I've prepared for this was to look at all of their main components, if you will. So the starters, Burns is nice, but I got to tell you, Grayson Rodriguez is the real key. That's what makes the starting rotation so strong. The relief is very good, even without their closer. Keep an eye on Dylan Tate. He's coming back from injury. He's going to be good. The catching with Rutschman. The infield is young and getting younger. They got Westberg and Henderson, who are great fielders. Mountcastle and Urias, okay. Outfield with Hayes, Mullins, Santander is serviceable. Kowser's going to really make that much better. That's, as you said, it's the depth. I mean, Holiday's going to be coming up. Kowser's already up. Kobe Mayo is probably going to be up to take over third base from Urias. Heston Kjerstad is going to come up for the outfield. Connor Norby. They're loaded.
I think a big key for this team is going to be which Craig Kimbrell is going to show up, because he can throw gasoline on a fire as good as anybody when he's not on.
That one surprised me too. Just as the Burns did, that one did. They had Cano, they got Colon, they got Perez, they got Dylan Tate, they got a good bullpen. I don't know why they needed to take the risk on him.
A couple of comments here before we move on. Did Luke Vogt, I know he got released by the Mets. Did he sign with Tampa today and I missed that? Because, or is that Chris? I found out he's a Yankee fan, by the way, up there in Toronto. So I revealed your secret tonight, Chris. If Luke Vogt, listen, he was good for a short period of time. He's never got any lasting history in this league, and he's not going to make a difference on any team in my mind.
No.
Taylor said he's hearing echoing on Drew's end. Well, we're playing with it. Taylor trying to get it. Taylor Phillips from the Michigan Truth podcast. Check out Taylor's stuff. We'll talk about your Tigers. I like some of the stuff the Tigers are doing myself this year. We'll get into that in a little bit. Danny was saying low and high. I just turned mine up a little bit, which is loud in my ears, but we'll see if that helps you guys. Dave, he wants to call you Dave. I don't know why. Drew has
I'll answer to anything.
Echo, like he's making points from a Victorian church. Well, Drew does have that kind of booming voice, and he is the voice of God sometimes. So the audio issue is at the Stinky's jacket. Hello, Augustine. How are you? San Francisco Giant fan. They're all here. Let's talk about the rest of this division. Yankees. Listen, I don't believe. I'm among the believers that Garrett Cole will not pitch this year. I think he'll have surgery at some point, just because this is the Yankees' history with pitchers and everything behind him. Rendon, terrible pickup last year, not going to be any better this year. I hope Nestor's healthy. Marcus Stroman is Marcus Stroman, and unless Clark Schmidt, suddenly jumps a level, this team's in trouble. We got injuries with LeMahieu already. To me, for the lineup, Rizzo might be the key to the lineup. If he doesn't protect Soto and Judge, then the offense will struggle again probably. Hopefully Volpe continues his progress, but I see the Yankees. I've got them down for a third place finish in this division.
So do I. The interesting thing is, so many prognosticators that do it as a living pick the Yankees to win, and I don't get it. The starters, as you said, are volatile. We'll put it that way. The relief, you don't know what you're going to get from Holmes and Loaiziga, although Ferguson was a nice pickup. Conley's injured again. Your catchers aren't going to do anything offensively.
Well, we hope Austin Wells can, hit the ball enough to warrant. Again, and his defensive skills are still a work in progress as well. So the more he plays, that could be an issue. Listen, we talked about the prognosticators still having faith in the Yankees, and this Yankee fan doesn't have a lot of faith. I read an article earlier today, the Baseball Reference, who uses metrics that would probably tick me off if I get into them, says the Yankees will win 71 games this year. I don't think it'll be that bad, but I got the Yankees again, like 82 and 80, like they were last year. And again, that streak of I forgot to check before the show, but it's about 35 years now, I think, of plus 500 seasons. It's going to be potentially on the line.
I think they'll cover that, but not much more than 500. Yeah.
Bonus points to Detroit. We'll get on them in a bit. Elsewhere in the East, Toronto, they seem to be. I think the window's closed on them. They still got some talent, but Springer's going backwards. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to find the fountain of youth at 34 years old. They've got some injury issues as well. They've got some guys who are better defensively in the outfield than they are offensively. And Kiermaier, and is it Kiermaier? And if I got the right guy, Kiermaier and Barshow. Lost Chapman, so they're replacing him with IKF. I mean, we know I know what he can do. I think Toronto's another team that I think their over under is 86. I'm under that. I just don't see how they're gonna compete, especially if the Orioles are good as we think they are.
I took a different tact on this one. I still have him for second at 88. I'm worried about the infield. Obviously, with kind of Khalifa at third and Biggio back holding down second. That's a concern. They brought up Eduardo Escobar and Justin Turner to play third to help out. That should. Their outfield is great defensively. Fabulous. Don't know if they can hit. But they've got that. You're going to see, rookie-wise, you're going to see, I can't even talk, Ricky Tiedemann come up. Number one starting pitcher in their system. They're going to need him. Their relief staff is still fabulous. Even with Romano and Swanson injured, between Meza, Green, Garcia, Cabrera, they're bringing up Nate Pearson now as a reliever, throwing 98. It's still solid. And the starting staff is solid.
Go backing up, Danny Fuller says the Yankees will sign Montgomery by the weekend. I'm not a big Jordan Montgomery fan. I was not sad to see him go. I watched him pitch here for 3 or 4 years and was never impressed. He left New York and pitched well in St. Louis, pitched well in Texas, but again, he may be one of those guys who's not built to pitch, in New York. And there's a lot of guys who just aren't built that way. So I don't disagree. Chris in Toronto, he's talking about we have a disconnect as fans with management. It feels like they're content to just have butts in the seats. Well, that's a problem with
a lot of places
sports in general. So I get that. To me, they didn't do a lot to improve this team to win. I mean, their big free agent, after trying to get Soto, then trying to get Ohtani, they come away with Justin Turner, and that's kind of that's a pretty big jump downwards. And who knows what Justin Turner's got left.
Well, he's still hitting. He hit 270 with upper teens home runs. Yeah. I think he was a decent pickup considering what they got at third right now. But they're going to have some issues. They obviously think that who they have now is still good enough.
Again, to me, they could finish anywhere from second to fifth or fourth, in this division. So, which brings us to the Rays, who somehow always seem to find pitchers, and now they need to find like an entire starting rotation, it seems. Are they going to be able to pull that? Zach Eflin, I guess, was okay last year, so he's coming back, and they've got Savali they brought in from Cleveland, but again, to me, not an impressive array of stuff there. I don't know if this team can really do it. They love the kid that they got in, was it Caballero, to replace Franco at shortstop. I don't know. This team seems to win with smoke and mirrors, and I think maybe the smoke overtakes the mirrors this year.
That is so funny that you and I are on the same page that way. I have them as fourth. They work their magic. Their pitchers are always great somehow. I just get a feeling that their luck is run out. I don't think Caballero's going to be great. Their outfield, you got Josh Lowe hurt, which is a big loss. Their infield, they're good fielding. There's some power there, but the hitting is inconsistent. They're going to need Mason Montgomery to come up. That's their pitching rookie. Curtis Mead is already up, their other rookie. We don't know what he can do. So I don't think they're going to pull it out of the hat. And Springs and Rasmussen coming midseason aren't going to help because they're going to watch their innings limits.
Correct. So I just don't see, unless, again, they find a way to pull another rabbit. They got to be running out of rabbits in Tampa. And by the way, fans, you better get out and watch this team or you're going to lose them. You didn't come out and see them when they won. So if they were to win 75 games this year, I don't know what's going to happen to attendance here either, which is going to put this whole franchise in Tampa in jeopardy in my mind. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about them moving if they have a losing season and they don't support that losing team or even a winning team for that matter. But again, I do see them fourth as well. I got the Blue Jays second with under 86 wins though. and probably out of the playoffs. So I've got the Orioles winning. I think you got the same thing I have. Maybe I've got the Orioles winning, the Blue Jays second, the Yankees third. Far back of the Orioles in my mind. The Rays and the Red Sox. Red Sox we didn't even talk about.
Oh,
Not much
should
to talk
we?
about except Rafael Devers. I mean, what else? After you talk about Rafael Devers, what are you going to talk about? Your thoughts there? Brian Bello, who they just signed to a long-term contract, their number one starter.
If he's your number one starter, we got problems.
Right.
I mean, they're locking him up like he's some great pitcher, and he's not.
No. Shows the shape that they're in this organization, and
it's not pretty.
Runs. They're going to have to score a lot of runs to win, and I don't see where this lineup is going to be all that good. If Duran got hurt middle of last year, late last year, whatever it was, but he had showed some promise, but he's got to continue to grow off of that. Devers, we know what he has. Trevor Story, is he going to turn back the clock?
He might.
He might, but he's got to stay healthy, which he really hasn't done since he got to Boston. Yoshida maybe can show something. I know there's some guys that like Cassis at first base a little bit. Tyler O'Neill's never been able to stay healthy or consistent in St. Louis. And the rest of the team, I just don't see where this team is going to compete and finish anywhere near 500.
No, not even close.
77 was the over, and I got him under.
I got him 73. I mean, all you need to know about them is Giolito is their big signing, and he's gone. That's the Red Sox.
Giolito, right. His big signing, he's gone for the year and probably more. Chris has got a tidbit for us. Kevin Seitzer's birthday is today. Kevin Seitzer was a nice ball player. I enjoyed watching him play with the Royals and I don't remember him playing with the Blue Jays. Oh, he was a hitting coach with the Blue Jays. I got you. I believe he played with the Royals and maybe the Brewers. He was a pretty good player. Contact, not a power hitter. But again, we don't really put a premium on that. That's probably why he's not the batting coach there anymore, because he put a premium on contact over power. So
yeah, he's from the Mark Ray School.
Yeah. So anyway, happy birthday to Kevin Seitzer. Nice catch there, Chris. Our Toronto or Canadian correspondent, I'm calling him now. The Rays have 9 cat lives have ended. Danny says. Well, Drew and I, we're all on the same page here apparently, and they fool me. They fool us every year, so they're probably going to go out and win 90 games. I'm not counting on it, but I'm going to say they might do that.
They always do. I just think it's got to run out.
So the division that I've come to think is the toughest in baseball, it might be far from that, because I've got one playoff contender, one playoff entry in the Orioles, and that's it. We're going to be very good. I think we can agree on all that.
Yep.
And I think moving on to the Central, we can agree that the Central is going to be really bad.
But competitive.
Yes. The Twins are Twins. Twins have tried to make some improvements in different places. I don't know what to make of the Twins. Every year, I think they're going to get, this is the year they'll get in. They'll do some damage in a playoff. Then Buxton gets hurt again. The shortstop? Correa didn't play as well as he should have, based on his contract. Royce Lewis is a nice player, but
until he gets hurt.
Kepler gets hurt. All these guys all get hurt all the time. The pitching staff, I love Pablo Lopez, just not sure again. He'd be a dark horse for the Cy Young for me, possibly, if this team could win enough games. Although wins don't matter that much. Joe Ryan's got some potential, so this team has got to be the default favorite in the Central. No,
unfortunately.
Right.
If Lewis stays healthy and Julian stays healthy and can learn how to hit lefties, the middle of their infield, second base and third base look good. Their relief staff is very much like the Blue Jays. They're down Duran, Thielbar, Topa, and they still have Stewart, Jackson, Oker. So that's good. The starters are passable. Everyone likes Ober and Ryan. I'm not a big fan. I think you're going to need to see Brooks Lee come up, their number one rookie. They didn't do a lot over the winter. I mean, Manuel Margot and Disclafani were their big pickups. So, are they going to win? Yeah. Are they going to win enough to get deep into playoffs? No.
And they were doing to Chris's point. You know, they play well enough every year, it seems, to contend for the title in a weak division. But this type of video game baseball, as he calls it, the analytics, it doesn't win. It doesn't win. You know what? Strong starting pitching, timely hitting, and defense is what wins championships, still in my mind, most of the time. So I agree with Chris here. This division will not be, again, I think the Twins will be at the top of it. I think Rocco Baldelli's done a really good job there. 87 wins, not sure. They may win this division with less than that. But I think they may get pushed a little bit by the team I want to talk about next, and that's the Detroit Tigers. And I know that, I don't know if, what was I talking about? I'm looking back at my, you remember who? Oh, Taylor Phillips from the Michigan Truth Podcast. I know they talk about the Tigers a lot. I know that Chris has a little bit of affinity for the Tigers because he's close proximity, although we found out he's a Yankee fan. I like what this team has got going. I like Riley Green in right field. I like what Torkelson might be able to, if he meets his potential, might be able to do. Conha, I'm not crazy about. Baez, I'm not crazy about. But they're still competent major league players. I like the rotation a lot, though. I talked about dark horses for the Cy Young. I'll mispronounce his name. Skubal, I got it. Skubal is going to be a dark horse for the Cy Young in my mind. Casey Mize has pitched pretty well in spring training, and if he can stay healthy, has shown he can be a consistent major league pitcher. Flaherty's a nice pickup. They got Medea. I mean, for guys to, eat innings, if you will. How good they'll be, we don't know. But I think this team, again, they're not going to win 95 games, but this team is going to win in the mid-80s, I think, and can push the Twins, and I think maybe even have a chance at a third wild card, maybe.
Oh, definitely. If you remember, I was on this bandwagon a long time ago.
Yeah.
Their pickups of Maeda and Flaherty, I think, were smart, provided they perform. Maeda pitched great last year when he came back from injury. They added Chafin in the bullpen, and their bullpen. Keep an eye on their bullpen. Foley, Chapin, and Vest are actually very good.
Yeah, I like
better than their closer, actually. Their outfield, holy crap. Riley Green, Parker Meadows, Kerry Carpenter, all can field, all can hit. Exceptional. We don't know what we're going to get out of Keith at second base, Colt Keith.
Yeah.
Torkelson, we know slams. Baez and Urshela. Right now it's Urshela at third.
Now I wasn't as high on this team a while back as you were. It took me a little while to come around, and now again, part of the reason I'm coming around saying this team's going to win the mid-80s is the rest of the division to me is going to be bad enough, and the AL East too. They're going to get some wins there that they wouldn't normally get, so I can move Detroit up comfortably, I think, into the mid-90s. The over-under, I think, was 80 on them, and I'm definitely like the over there. The Royals is another team some people think is going to maybe take a jump. Bobby Witt had a great season last year and would have to have an MVP-type season probably to get this team around contention, but I'm not crazy about the rest of the lineup here or what they've done in the offseason, bringing in guys like Hunter Renfroe and Seth Lugo, who I love, but when he's your number 2 starter, that's probably not a good sign. I just don't see enough around Witt. Salvador Perez is a nice catcher, but again, he's starting to get some miles on him. I just don't see enough here. Brady Singer, I like a bit. Michael Wacha. I don't see where they made enough, the right kind of moves in this offseason. They made moves like they need a few bodies to really put themselves over the top, and I don't see that.
Well, That being said, what they put in at starting pitcher is way better than it was. So
The bar's set kind of low there, though.
exactly. Waka had a good year. Lugo had a good year. They've got Cole Reagans for hopefully their ace that they.
Lugo's not going to go out and get you 180 innings.
No.
I mean, he's not built that way. He's been a reliever most of his career and swung back and forth a bit. Go ahead.
Except this is where they support them. They totally rebuilt their relief staff.
Well,
they brought in Nick Anderson, Will Smith, Schreiber, Stratton, and they got a couple of young guys, MacArthur and McMillan, who are going to be really good. That's going to be their strength. You forgot Pasquantino at first, great fielder, coming back healthy, hopefully.
I like Melendez too a little bit. He's got some potential offensively, but I don't know if he's not. I don't think he's good enough in left field or in the outfield or at catcher to defensively to maybe be in a lineup every day.
Well, the fact that he's not doing catching anymore, they got Felix Fermin in
they moved him
backup.
That's why they moved him out of there. Too.
Yeah.
Right.
He's inconsistent. He still has the power. He still can't hit lefties. It's an issue, but there's always been potential, but he hasn't matched it.
The rest of this division, you got the Cleveland. Cleveland. Other than the obvious in Ramirez, this offense is not what this offense. This team looked like an up and coming young, both offensively and defensively. They looked like they were maybe a coming team 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, and to me, they've gotten just much worse in the last 2 years, both in both offensively and defensively. There's some decent players there, but I can't see this team finishing higher and fourth in this division.
I've got them actually third ahead of the Royals.
Okay.
Not by a lot. But their pitching staff, I think, is going to be in good shape. I think Bieber's coming back healthy. McKenzie's going to come back healthy. They still got Bibby and Logan Allen. I don't know what Carrasco's going to do coming back, but
it's a guy I always root for, though.
Yeah.
Music on there. Sorry about that.
The relief staff, which used to be their strength, is getting hit hard. Right now, their backups to Class A are Henches and Barlow. That's it. Bo Naylor may be good at catcher. They've brought in one of their rookies, Rocchio, to play shortstop. Great defensive, no hit. Their outfield fields really well, no hit. They're going to need Kyle Manzardo to do DH and add some power. Maybe George Valero come up, but he's got holes in his swing. He's all power and 3 true outcomes. So that's why I've got them third because of their pitching staff. But
to be clear here in a couple of things, look, Torkelson is a good call. I think he has survived being rushed to the big leagues. You're right. Todd Van Poppel will give you that. I'll make sure I quote you on using Todd Van Poppel because that's a great reference, I think, Chris. The Pirates, right? Kind of brought him to the bigs too soon. And Danny, to be clear, I didn't say 90s for Detroit. I said mid 80s, which I think will be enough to compete for a third wild card. So we can have a coffee on 85 if you like, not 90. And for all the teams with a lack of thump, we're going to talk about Arizona. And I agree with this. And then I got some problems with Arizona did in the off season. So we'll talk about that. And that let's not forget the Marlins. Agree again, good pitching and good defense, which other than the Marlins actually don't fit that mold. Good defense, but we'll talk about both those teams in a little bit. To round out this division, we got the White Sox, and unfortunately, by contract, we have to talk about the White Sox as well. Luis Robert and what? Vaughn. They're hanging their hat on Vaughn, and they traded their best pitcher away here already in the spring training. You can give me your thoughts first here.
Thoughts. Garrett Crochet is coming back as a starter, and they're moving Kopech from starting to the bullpen.
Number one starter for them right now, Crochet.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, he's got hot stuff, and he always has, and he started as a starter actually in the system.
Mm-hmm.
But they never thought he could make it as a starter. He wouldn't go the distance.
Yeah.
So, they bring in Fetty. This team was loaded up with people nobody else wanted. They got Flexen, they got Soroka, they got Tim Hill, John Brebbia, Steve Wilson, Brian Shaw, Maldonado, Nick Lopez, Paul DeJong, Robbie Grossman. It goes on forever.
They'll be longing for the days of Tim Anderson here by June, for crying out. This team is, I mean, again, Robert's a nice player. Benedetti's a nice player. But again, these are guys that, at least Benintendi, Jimenez, DeJong, these are guys that are nice players on a good team. On a bad team, you're not going to get anything except maybe some numbers out of it.
No. I do want to bring up, though, because I'm big on rookies. Mm-hmm. They've got a rookie for shortstop, which they'll need. Colton Montgomery, one of their top rookies. I expect you'll see him May or June, and we'll see what he can do. He could be really good.
Before we get done, we'll take your list of players to watch, because it's always enjoyable to look at that later in the season. So. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes, like anything else. I don't see how the White Sox were in any position to make any releases this spring. Well, they probably should have kept 80 guys on their roster to try to win. But put the Sox as a mismatch, Red Sox and White Sox. Both teams combined would be finished last. I think that's what Danny's saying here. I don't disagree. Mostly because the pitching on both sides is atrocious. I mean, you could put together a decent offensive team, I think, if you combine the two. But the pitching staffs, to me, just not even anything to talk about. So
it's not good to wear socks.
So I've got the Twins in first, the Tigers in second, the Royals. I should jot down your stuff here. Hold on.
Yeah, we got to jot this down. We lost it last year.
If you did the same thing I did in the East, right? Let's stay on this, because I like to, during the Major League update, we like to revisit this here and there.
Yep.
So same.
So we're the same. We switched the Guardians and the Royals. I had them for third. You've got them for fourth.
Drew's got the Royals fourth, and
no, I got the Royals fifth.
The Royals fifth. Sorry,
you've got them third.
Third, yes, I do. And you have the Guardians third.
Fourth.
You got the White Sox third?
No, last.
Oh, I said Royals last before. That's sorry about that. We switched.
No problem.
Okay. All right, so there we go. We got the Twins, and I think the Twins and the Tigers both make the playoffs. That's my big move in the American League is going to be Detroit makes the playoffs, and only one team from the East comes out of there for the playoffs.
I put the Blue Jays in there.
Okay. So you got the Twins only coming out of the Central.
Correct.
Cool. Moving on to the West. One of my favorite pastimes is to say the Astros, don't count them out. Don't count them out. I sound like Chris Berman talking about the Bills circling the wagons here when I'm talking about the Astros. I think they're back for one more rodeo. 91, I think, is the number on them. I'm going to have to go under, but I think they win only under because the rest of the division's good, and I have a surprise for you here in one of them. I think they win the division. I think they still got enough in the tank offensively. I think they're a team that also keeps replenishing their pitching staff with some good young starters, and they got a really good bullpen, I think, right now, too. I'm going to like Seattle to finish second, and the Rangers are going to be a big surprise, and we'll have to battle for that last playoff spot, I think. And the Angels will finish over 500. Another little tidbit for you.
Okay.
And then Oakland will be Oakland. We'll battle Colorado for the race to 120 losses this year. Going team by team, tell me your thoughts here. Let's start with the Astros at the top.
The Astros, you'd be worried about Verlander, Urquidy, Garcia, McCullers, all injured, and yet they still have Valdez, Javier, Brown, and France. You know, I mean,
all four of those guys too. So
they lost a bunch of guys from the bullpen, and they replaced them with one, a really good one, in Hader. They still got Presley, still got Montero, still got Brian Abreu. So,
and when they get to midseason, they got 6 starters. I don't know if you mentioned Urquidy, but I like Urquidy a lot too. Did you mention? Okay, I thought.
Yeah, he's injured.
Yeah, but again, he's going to contribute to this team, either here or in the bullpen at some point. And if one of those guys come back and they might be your 5th starter, because these other guys I think they're really good. I like France a lot myself. And we know what Valdez and Javier can do, and we've seen him do it on the biggest stage. So I think this team, again, people want to bury the Astros for a lot of reasons, some of which are overrated. But I think their lineup is still really good. I think Jeremy Pena bounces back this year with a decent season.
He'd have to.
He would. But I just like the top of this lineup, especially a lot. The first 4 guys in this lineup, I think, still bring a lot to the table.
Oh, Tucker's always underrated.
Very underrated.
And shouldn't be. McCormick really came on. They didn't trust him. They had to give him a shot, and he took it. Jake Myers is taking over full-time in center field, another great fielder. I'm worried about their infield. They're getting old. They get injured. I'm not a Jose Abreu fan. That worries me a little bit, but I think overall, between the pitching and their catching and their outfield, they're still can't be overtaken.
Yes, the other things, Danny, is what I was talking about with the Asterix. You being a Dodger fan, I can understand how you feel. Me as a Yankee fan should feel the same way, and I don't. We'll get into it on a Sunday morning one day. We won't get into too much of it here. It's one of the most overrated scandals in the history of sports. Seattle wins the division. Listen, Seattle's a team, and we'll go to Seattle now since he brings it up. They disappointed for a good part of the year last year, made a big run at the end. I just think the pitching staff I like a lot, with Castillo at the top. He's probably my Cy Young favorite. I gave you a couple of dark horses, but Castillo's got to be the favorite. But I like Kirby. I like Gilbert. I like Miller. I like all of them. If they can, their defense can be shaky in places. And this offense can be, home run or nothing. Sometimes there's not enough of it. But J-Rod, I think, is so good. I think he'll have a huge year this year. You do have too many Mitch Hanigers, I guess, in this lineup, but they got rid of him last year and brought him right back this year, which is kind of ironic. I think Raleigh is an underrated force at catcher and can hit a little bit for a catcher. I like the move to get Polanco. I know a lot of guys aren't a huge fan of Polanco, but I like what he brings to this team. And J.P. Crawford and France, I think, are, again, good enough to fill out this lineup. And I think they will be the second-place team and push the Astros right to the end.
I agree. First of all, I think they've got the best pitching staff and starting staff in baseball. That doesn't even include Wu, who's injured right now.
Right.
Their relief staff is taking a hit. Their 2 big setup guys are injured, Brash and Santos, who they traded for. But they still got Munoz. They brought on Stanek. They still got Gabe Spire. So they got enough there. The Polanco move is a good one because they needed some power and some hitting up the middle. Crawford has improved. Third base is an issue right now.
Yeah, that's a little bit weak. They may have to make a move during the season to shore that up a little bit.
Left field is too. Canzone is a starter in left field.
Raleigh, I like a little bit. The kid they got from the Rays in the trade.
Oh, Raleigh, yeah.
Raleigh, I think he can be. Again, he's got to be more consistent than he was in Tampa. But I think this is worth a shot, and he may overtake Canzone here at some point. I think.
Yeah, Rayleigh's got some speed. He's got some power. He's a 249 hitter. Also has trouble against lefties. So they may need to platoon there. But it's a solid enough lineup, especially with J-Rod, to support the pitching.
Kenny, we did talk about Baltimore already. We'll probably talk about them a little more when it comes to where they can finish. We don't want to, give the big finale right now, but I think
let's not forget, by the way, they brought in Mitch Garver as their DH.
Yes.
Which was a nice pickup.
There's a solid nucleus growing in Oakland. Of what? Black Panthers? I'm sorry. That's probably going to get me in a lot of trouble right there. But listen, there's some decent young players there, but Oakland's probably going to be on track to lose 110 games again this year. We'll get to the West. Oh, we're in the West. We'll get to the A's in a second.
Right.
Kenny, I'm not picking on catchers. I just gave the guy a nice compliment in Raleigh. So Kenny is one of the few left-handed catchers that I've played with in my career, and a very good one at that. Not an asterisk player. I'm not going to get into that today, but we'll talk about that on a.
We got to get over that.
We could.
It's
right.
It's gone.
But let go sign what's his name and let him throw at him every time he pitches against him. What was that? Who's the guy pitched for the Red Sox and the Dodgers and the spectacle threw really hard. What the hell is it? Danny's gonna know. He hit every freaking Astro he could find, for crying out loud. So let him take care of business on the field, and we'll talk more about it on another show. But I don't want to eat up tonight's show with that. Let's move on to the Rangers, because this team, I have doubts. I know their offense, their lineup is really good. They got 2 Rookie of the Year candidates in the outfield. Langford's starting from the year on. I guess he might be starting at DH. I'm not sure yet where he's playing, but Rookie of the Year candidates. The offense is really good. The pitching staff, the more I thought about it, and I know I've been hard on them leading up to the start of the season, they still have Evaldi, but I'm not sure that, number one, he stays healthy for the entire year. He didn't last year. And I don't know that he matches that performance from last year. That was not Evaldi-like much of the season. Not a big Gray fan. I still don't get the Andrew Haney thing. Dane Dunning I like, but you're waiting for your 2 best pitchers to pitch hopefully in July. And who knows what they got at that point or where they are at that point.
Well, technically 3. They're waiting for Tyler Mahle to come back.
Yeah, he's not on the same level as the other 2 guys, even at this
No,
point.
but I think he's better than what they've thrown out there.
Agreed.
Lorenzen actually was a nice pickup. He'll be, here's a favorite term we love, an innings eater.
God, I hate that term.
I know, that's why I said it. The bullpen they tried to reconstruct. Leclerc, I'm not great on as a closer. They got Yates and Robertson to back him up. May work, but that's it. Catching's okay with Heim. Nate Lowe is injured. Sager and Young are coming back. Semyon. It's a great infield.
They're going to score tons of runs. This lineup's going to score tons of runs, but they're going to have to. I mean,
the old Texas Rangers.
Yeah, how this team didn't bring back Montgomery, who, again, I'm not in love with the guy, and that might be just because he can't pitch where my team plays. He did really well with the Rangers, and how they don't bring him back is beyond me. And Danny, I think this is where he ends up myself here in the next couple of weeks myself, but we'll see.
Yep. They did bring on Jared Walsh, which I think was a really good pickup with the injury to Lowe. Langford and Carter are both officially rookies. Hard to believe. Still got Garcia, the hot dog, and Tavares, great fielder. Jankowski, another great fielder, as a sub. It's a solid positional players.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the pitching staff that's the issue.
I'm not crazy necessarily about the way Adelis Garcia plays the game, but we can talk about that another day too, I suppose. And by the way, Michael Lorenz, talking about Michael Lorenz, he lost his moniker, I think, as the best hitting pitcher in baseball when Ohtani got in the league. So,
well, yeah.
So, anyway, I think the Rangers right now, I've got them third, and before we make our final picks, I may have them. I'm not giving you my last AL wild card yet because I don't know what it is yet. I'm trying to talk myself into it during this conversation.
Okay.
And it won't be the A's, who are building a solid foundation of Black Panthers, as I said out there.
Well, we got the Angels next, right?
I mean, they do have a couple of good players. I mean, Rez is nice at the top of the lineup, no power, but he's going to steal a bunch of bases. I think he led the American League, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Miguel Andujar, I know Chris loves, and I loved when he was a Yankee, and I think the Yankees screwed him up badly. He's got hurt now, I think. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but I believe he got hurt. J.D. Davis, they signed, Langoliers is okay. Who's going to pitch?
Oh, Ross Stripling and Alex Wood and Blackburn and Sears and Boyle. Household names.
Hence my question. Who's going to pitch well? Sorry. Again, I don't see how this team avoids losing 105, 10 games.
No.
Am I missing something?
No.
Is there anybody there other than Ruiz to get excited about?
Yes. Mason Miller, first of all, is going to be their closer. The kid throws 100. He's their top rookie, and he's going to do well. Their outfield actually is decent. You still got Seth Brown. J.J. Bleday, who was a huge prospect with Marlins, is coming into his own. Lawrence Butler is another one of their youngins. Rooker provides power. And Geloff at second is going to be really good.
Well, then Chris or Danny, I don't know which one. I think it was Danny that said it. Maybe they are building a nice foundation of non-Black Panthers out there.
If anyone could actually handle the mound, yeah.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of teams in that same situation. But in this division, and again, I know you don't play as many games in your division as you probably should. Not get another story for another day, but I don't see how they, again, get anywhere near 70 wins. I just don't see it. Couple comments before we give our order of finish. It was Joe Kelly. I believe it's Joe Kelly, right? I did miss that last.
Well, we didn't do the Angels.
Oh, we missed the Angels. This is my surprise. How did I miss the Angels? Thank you. I have the Angels finishing above 500 in this division and possibly pushing the Rangers for that third wild card. That's where I am. I got the Tigers, the Rangers, the Angels, and probably one of those teams from the East battling it out for that third wild card.
Okay.
One of the reasons I say it is because I love their hiring of Washington as a manager. He has been dealt the best deck here, obviously, as we know. If I'm going to say this, I've got to hope that Mike Trout finds a way to play 130 games at least, if not more, which again, his history says he's not going to. And maybe Rondon learns to love the game. He's getting paid a lot of money to play. What else? I know Brandon Dury is nothing great. Aaron Hicks, everybody knows how I think about him, but I like Zach Neto a little bit. I think he's going to mature a little bit from what is sit in the bigs last year. Taylor Ward, I like a bit in the outfield as well. And I think maybe a couple of these young pitchers will step up a little bit. I think the Angels finish above 500 or at 500.
I got them nowhere near that.
That's okay. That's one of my surprises.
It's a surprise. They didn't bring in anything for the starting rotation. Tyler Anderson, Sandoval, Detmers, Canning, Jose Soriano are substandard. The bullpen they reconstructed, brought in their entire bullpen actually. Matt Moore, Stevenson, Simber, Garcia. Although Stevenson's injured already. Catcher is Ohop, and he can make it fly. Not a great fielder. In fact, neither of their catchers are great fielders. At first, they got Shanuel, who was drafted last year and played last year. Good defensive. He's a Mark Race knockoff. Big average guy, a lot of doubles, power, good field. Can't hit a home run. The rest of the infield, Rengifo, Drury, Moniak in the outfield, Joe Adele gets one more chance. No.
I remember the team that Washington took over in Texas, and I felt the same way about. And he got that team playing competitive baseball. And I think this team will play some competitive baseball. Now, again, them finishing near 500 is going to be predicated on Mike Trout playing 140 games, and that's unlikely to happen. So,
no. Washington's supposedly doing really nice things there now as far as the culture, which you would expect them to do.
Right.
But I don't think they have the pieces to make it work.
I always like Ron Washington. Let me get to a couple comments before we give our, this time we'll give our order of finish. Is it Flo or Fio? I thought you told me Fio last time. Whichever one it is, welcome. Great to have you with us. The Bottom Line Sports, which he is one of the, I think he's the admin of, one of the great friends of TGI Sports Talk, and we enjoy you allowing us to share our show there and all your loyal followers. Chris talks about Garcia mimicking the career of a young Sammy Sosa. I would take Sammy Sosa's game over Garcia right now. I don't like his act. He's a great ball player. I just don't like his act. And Sammy, at least I played hard in my mind, and this guy doesn't play the way he should. He cheats the game. He reminds me more of a, I'm trying to think of somebody. He's cheating himself in the game the way he plays, because it's gonna wear thin, and something's got to give. Back to Bottom Line Sports. Keith, you're coming in very low, and your guest is coming in loud. Yeah, I know. We have a little. I can turn my mic up, and we'll see what happens. But you can let me know about that. Flo or Fio, whichever one it was. Correct me, whichever one I'm wrong on. And if I'm too loud, tell me now, because I just turned my mic up really loud. But thank you. We've been having a few audio issues, but we've been saying, or maybe he's too loud. I can't turn his mic down, though. All I can do is, actually, I can turn his down. Can I? Let me just try that real quick. We appreciate you guys helping us with the audio issues, or trying to anyway. So I think I can actually do that. Well, I can. So you're too loud. Let me turn you down a little bit. And I'll turn myself back down a little bit. All right, we'll see how that goes. You guys can let us know. But thanks again, guys, for letting us know. Anyway, back to the West. I've got the Astros, Seattle, the Rangers. By the way, I've got the Astros under 91, Seattle over 87. So I think they're both going to be right around 90 and 89. That's where they're going to be chasing each other. The Rangers under 88, closer to 500 than 88 wins in my mind. And then the Angels over 72, and the A's 57. I'm going to give them an over. They might get to 58.
I put them at 60.
And right
so we
now
have the same order.
We do. And I've got the Astros and Seattle coming out of the West, and I still have to pick another American League team, which I will do before we get to the playoff portion of this show. So we got the same order there
for 2 out of the 3.
All right. So again, that's the same. What's that? Or maybe he's still on the same comment we had before. Okay, so we move on to the National League, where we got some. I think there's going to be some interesting races. Well, there's going to be interesting races everywhere, but the National League, there's a couple of, I want to say a couple of teams that are a bit intriguing as far as I think they could go either way in my mind. be really much better than we think, or they could be much worse, I guess, than I think. We'll start in the East, and when you start in the East, you really got to start with the Braves because they're still, to me, Dodgers can spend all the money they want. They're still the most complete team in baseball when you factor in starting pitching, bullpen, offense, defense. This is the best team on paper in baseball, and they've been very consistent, at least in the regular season the last few years, and they've won a world title where the Dodgers have not in a full season in quite some time. Max Fried, again, it could come down to health of the starting pitchers, right? Because Fried had his issues last year. Charlie Morton I think, might have graduated a year or two behind me in school, and I can't remember. Chris Sale, which everybody is hailing this tremendous trade. I'm not seeing it. Chris Sale pitched about 4 good games last year. In the last 4 years. Maybe he's found the fountain youth. I don't know. But I like their bullpen, obviously. And the lineup is second to none, maybe in baseball. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in here who could win the MVP themselves. Acuna's in a class by himself. If he comes anywhere near repeating that performance, he's obviously going to be a walkaway MVP. But I'm afraid he's going to go 35 and 50, and people are going to think, what happened to Acuna? And that's still, that's a great year. But Acuna could win. I mean, these guys could all win MVPs. Acuna, Albies, Riley, Olsen. Those guys could all be MVP winners. They could be. They won't all be because they don't let you do that. But that lineup, Michael Harris is a nice player in center field. What are your thoughts? Jared Kelenic, I like in right field. It's a good defensive outfield too. You don't like Kelenic?
Nah, the Kelenic trade, they're working on him again. Seattle tried to rework his swing. Atlanta's trying to rework his swing. He finally hit a home run on the last day of spring training. He's always had the potential. He was a number 1 Mets prospect, for those that don't remember. But if they can fix him, then this team is over the top. I don't think they will, but they got more than enough without him. I mean, that bullpen, holy cow. Iglesias, Minter, Jimenez, Bummer, who they traded for, Matzek, Pierce Johnson. And they just brought back Jesse Chavez, 40 years old, same as Morton, for the sixth time.
Is he the guy? I mix him up. Is he the guy who's pitched for like the 75% of the league?
He's pitched around. Not that much, though. But he doesn't pitch well anywhere except in Atlanta. It's the weirdest thing. Don't forget their catchers, by the way. Murphy and Darno are great catchers.
Absolutely.
Except for Kelenic, I don't see a flaw. And this doesn't count. They still got 3 rookies to bring up for pitching staff.
And they just brought Duvall back. If Kelenic doesn't make it, I mean, they got Duvall to throw out there, who's a good defensive player and got them pop, right? And
Yep. And don't forget Osuna, who hit 40-plus home runs.
Yeah.
So, keep an eye on their pitchers. If Sale tanks or Morton gets hurt or whatever, the key name to know here is Hurston Waldrep. They got Smith Soiver that everyone talks about, but I think Waldrop's actually their best pitcher.
Good call. The 103 is their over-under. I can't. Again, they're a great team, but that's too many. If I'm betting, I've got to go under. They'll probably win 100 games. 103 is a lot, especially when you got some other good team. You got another good team in the division, the Phillies, which we'll talk about in a second. Plus, there's some other good teams in the National League that they got to compete with. So, yep. I think it's more likely the Orioles win 103 than the Braves, quite frankly, because of the difference in the leagues.
No, that's true. That's true.
I mentioned the Phillies, of course. They're my second choice. I would think they're probably yours, not to speak for you, but I feel better about this team than I have the last couple of years when they were very good and they almost won a World Series with a team
twice.
that I thought was a bit twice, right? And I thought was a bit flawed, especially 2 years ago. I like this team a lot better than I did before. I mean, Schwarber's still not my favorite player because, great on base percentage. I get it. And home runs, but home runs and walks.
3-2 outcomes.
Keeps you in the game. Trey Turner can't help but get off to a better start than he did last year in Philadelphia. And I think having that year and getting through it without getting chased out of town is going to benefit him. Harper's going to be much healthier, I think, and he's adjusting to first base, I think, pretty well. And they got some young at Realmuto at catcher, of course. And they got some young guys like Baum and Stott, Marsh, who are still coming into their own, and I think will be even better than they've been the last couple of years. So this team, again, not only can they score a bunch of runs, but their rotation, we talked about a couple of their really good rotations. This one's we don't talk enough about Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, and Sanchez at that fourth starter. All very good starters. And Wheeler, to me, I think is a Cy Young favorite here in the National League for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, the issue is Nola, of course. He's alternated good years and bad years, which means he's due for a good year, in theory. Signed him to the extension, so they're hoping he does that. He's just too inconsistent. Wheeler is consistent as hell. Nola, less so. I like Suarez. I like Sanchez. Even Walker, who's injured, unfortunately. But he was decent.
Well, maybe if he thinks his season starts in August, he'll pitch well right through the playoffs. Maybe Walker.
He's good for that.
And Nola, I agree. A little surprising they signed him. I still think he's a really, really good pitcher, but to sign him to that big extension at this point in his career is a little crazy. And Suarez, I think, may overtake him as the number 2 starter on this team. I like Suarez a lot.
I mean, he won't in theory, but as far as how he actually does, yeah. The bullpen is pretty good, actually. Alvarado, Hoffman, Dominguez, Soto, Strahm, who they also just extended, are pretty good. And that doesn't count Kerkering, who's injured.
Yeah. And they got a couple of guys in that group who can close and probably will close until they settle on one guy. I like Alvarado there myself, but it could be any one of 3 guys, maybe 4 guys could end up being the guy if they even go there. Rob Thompson, to me, what gives the Phillies a chance, in my mind, maybe even to catch Atlanta this year, it's possible, if that starting pitching holds up. Rob Thompson is, to me, a tremendous manager. And I'm probably a little biased because of the year he spent with the Yankees. And when they hired Aaron Boone, I wanted Rob Thompson to get that job, and he didn't. So I'm very happy that Rob Thompson has gotten his chance, and he's done as well as he has. And I think he's a big reason for this Philly success.
Oh, no question. I mean, take a look at what they did the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Outfield, though, Marsh can't hit lefties. Merrifield, I think, is
really good defensive player, though.
Very good defensive player.
Yeah.
Castellanos, I think, is the wink link. They got young kid Johan Rojas. They brought up Pace, who, if you remember, was a big prospect with the Braves a long time ago. All field, no hit, both of them. And Schwarber, if they need him in the outfield. It's really Marsh and pray the ball doesn't get hit there.
I think I can cover more ground than Schwarber in the outfield these days, but maybe that might be a little out there. We'll go to the Mets next because we got to go to somebody next. I think the Mets are going to struggle. I think the over-under for the Mets is 81. I think they're going to go under this number. Nemo's. I do like some of the moves they made. The problem is they haven't fixed third base. They haven't fixed center field. I like Bader. I do like Bader. I know he isn't one of your favorite guys, but he's not going to stay healthy. That's the biggest problem with him in my mind. Batty is the third baseman for now, but how long they're going to wait for him? I do like some of the kids. I think Alvarez may really have a breakout year, possibly. Alonso's in his walk year, so he may be motivated to have better than a Dave Kingman year. But they need guys like McNeil and Marte and Batty, Stewart, Bader, all to have better years than they've had in the past, and I don't think you can count on that. I mean, Nemo's really good. Lindor had a great year last year. I'm not sure we can expect the same thing out of him this year even. And the pitching staff, again, I mean, Quintana's your number one starter. Severino, great stuff, great potential, but he'll get hurt because he's never not gotten hurt. McGill, Hauser, Menea, this team's not going to win. They're not going to win 80 games.
Okay. I've got them actually for getting 82.
Okay. Now, I don't think they're going to be, 65 wins, but I think this is a 75 to 80 win team.
The pitching staff could be better than you think, or it could be a train wreck. It's hard to know.
Including the bullpen, because they are getting Diaz back, but, again, relievers are, like the market up and down every year, or every day.
Just like as you said, just like the starters. They may be decent or they could implode. Yeah.
Now, I left out Senga out of that rotation, and he's really, really good, but another guy, even though I picked him in like every fantasy team I'm on, I'm thinking he's hurt worse than this team's letting on.
I don't think so. I think he'll be back, and I think Cole's going to be back too. I mean, when they take it to the number one TJ surgeon and he says he's fine, I think he's going to be okay. You mentioned Nemo, good hitter. McNeil's a decent hitter, no power. Alonso's power, not a good hitter. Lindor steals and has some powers, also doesn't hit a lot. Bader can't hit.
The defense is not good. The defense is better with Bader in center field. So the outfield defense is better, but when Nemo's got to go back to center, it takes a big drop. The entire outfield takes a big drop with Bader if Bader's out there.
Yeah, and in some ways it's similar to the Yankees. I don't think they're strong with Judge in the center because it gives them an opportunity to get injured.
Yeah, I meant to mention that when we talked about them. I'm not a big fan of that alignment at all, and I hope we somehow, and who knows, injuries have a way of playing themselves out, and Judge ends up out of center field, and the kid they picked up from the Padres in the trade, Grisham, can hit enough to play.
That's always been his problem.
Multiple days in center field. But anyway, the Mets. Do you see? Is Pete Alonso going to be Pete Alonso? Is he going to get a big contract from the Mets, or is he going to hit free agency?
No, he's going to get free agency.
I can't see giving him this guy a bunch of money guaranteed when he's Dave Kingman today.
He's not quite that bad, but he doesn't hit for average, never has. His fielding is okay. It's not, gold glove. He hits home runs and he drives in RBIs.
Sounds a lot like Dave Kingman, except his defense wasn't okay, I guess.
No, he was awful.
Other than that, he sounds a lot like Dave Kingman.
Don't forget they signed J.D. Martinez, who had a decent year for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So he's their DH. I think they'll be 500 team.
Is that good enough in New York?
Hell no.
Is that good enough in year 3?
But Cohen and the new GM have said that this was going to be that kind of year. So they've already prepared people for being.
Yeah, but when he bought this team, he promised them a World Series in 5 years.
5 years.
I don't see how that's happening. This is year 3, right?
No. Yes.
Their best chance was last year, and they fired the wrong guy.
I like Showalter, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, for sure. The Marlins, who last year were a bit of a surprise, are they going to be able to pull that kind of surprise again this year? They're going to have decent pitching, like they always do. Luzardo, I think, is really good. I think A.J. Puck is going to take a big step forward this year myself. I like Trevor Rogers when he's healthy. And I'm sure they got a bunch of other kids that'll probably pitch. We never heard of. What's the Perez? He's not going to start the season in the rotation, but he's very good, obviously, as well. And then they're going to have some other guys like Meyer and, big prospects that are going to contribute. The thing is, well, number one, can they score enough runs? And number two, can they catch the balls that the pitcher is actually allowed to be put into play, because their defense is not going to be very good, especially their infield is not going to be very good at all. You got some guys. Jazz Chisholm to me is the key to this team. If he meets his potential, then this team maybe can be better offensively than we think. That's a big if. Tim Anderson, is he going to bounce back? He did win a batting title one time. But he's a defensive liability at shortstop at this point in his career. And then you got your Arraez will, again, probably contend for a batting title, but, hit about, 140 singles. So Berger and Bell hit some home runs, but, make as many errors as they hit home runs.
And not hit.
And not hit for average. So this team, I think, is, again, what's the over-under on this team? 77, I think. I've got them going under.
It's possible.
Under.
Not by a lot. I mean, normally I start with the pitching. Let's start with the other stuff, because it's much easier to go through. I mean, you already covered the infield. Their outfield is Dela Cruz, Sanchez, to go with Chisholm, who will injure himself the first time he dives for a ball.
I like Dela Cruz a little bit. I have to say, I do like Dela Cruz a little bit.
He swings at everything. Their backups are Nick Gordon and Avisail Garcia. There's another good old name for you.
Yeah.
Catchers are Fortis and Betancourt. They brought in Betancourt. It's not good. As usual, pitching is their strength. They've got 4 guys that are injured that could make a starting staff for another team. They got Perez, Alcantara, Cabrera, and Garrett.
Oh, Garrett, I forgot about, yeah.
And they're all injured. They still got Luzardo, Trevor Rogers, who needs a bounce back, Ryan Weathers, the cast-off from San Diego, and Puck, who people forget was a huge prospect for the A's as a starter.
Yep.
Max Meyer is their only real rookie of note. And he's got good stuff.
Well, he's back from Tommy John surgery two years ago, isn't he? Yeah. I like him. And all these guys that you talked about hurt, except for Alcantara, he's out for the year. The other guys are expected to pitch, at least at some point during this year.
Yeah. So, and here was something. Here's another name for you from Blast from the Past. Sisto Sanchez, who was supposed to be their number 1 starter 4 years ago. They've got him in the bullpen now.
Yeah.
Which is
sometimes, that's a career changing move for some Hall of Famers named Eckersley and Smoltz. We'll see if it happens for him. He doesn't compare to them as starters when they moved over, but
right.
And bringing them up the bottom, I think the bottom of this division, although there's a couple of interesting players on the Nationals this year. I mean, C.J. Abrams has been making strides. I like Lane Thomas in the outfield. Of course, you can't help but love Joey Gallo at first base if you need to be cooled off during the hot summer in Washington. Nick Senzel is a name that was a hot prospect not that long ago. But they've also got guys like Robles who've never panned out and never met their potential. And it's unfortunate, but they keep rolling them out there every year. Victor Robles, Eddie Rosario, and Journeyman. But at the top of the lineup, I like Abrams and Thomas a lot. I just don't see any pitchers. Patrick Corbin's still listed number 2 in the rotation. That's a problem.
I thought Corbin was 1.
Well, 1 or 2, I guess. I see him 2 in what I looked at this morning, the last time. Trevor Williams, he's their 5th starter. Jake Irvin, Gore. I mean, where are the outs coming from?
Mackenzie Gore was a high prospect. He's pitching okay. We need to see if he can learn it. He's still got potential. The bullpen is awful. Finnegan is still the closer. I can't figure out why. Hunter Harvey is much better. The catchers are good. Keibert, Ruiz, and Riley Adams are a great tandem.
Yeah, I forgot about Ruiz a little bit. Yeah.
Those guys are good. The thing to watch here is the future. James Wood is going to come up. Dylan Cruz is going to come up.
Yeah.
That'll take care of your outfield. That'll get rid of Robles. Thank God. They both provide power and defense. Those are going to be nice additions when they bring them up.
Well, I don't know about that much about Joshua Gray, but he's their opening day starter and Corbin's following him. And as long as that's the case, this team is going to struggle for sure, whoever they bring up.
Joshua or Josiah? I think
Josiah.
it's Josiah.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Josiah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He still can't pitch.
Yes, regardless, he still can't pitch, probably. So we'll see. Did I miss anybody?
No, I think we scared them all away.
So I've got Atlanta, Phillies. I've got the Marlins ahead of the Mets. You probably had it the other way around.
I did.
Drew has these third. I got.
We're both making notes for next year.
I'll lose this piece of paper tomorrow. So.
I will not.
And Washington at the bottom. I do have Washington over their 66.
I do too.
So interesting. To the Central, which again shapes up as, again, not as bad as the AL Central, but
it's close.
Interesting. I think it's an interesting group of teams. We'll start with last year's champion only because they're right here in front of me. The Brewers, who I think are going to take a big drop here. I've actually got the Brewers finishing last in this.
So did I.
Christian Yelich turned the clock back a little bit last year. It's a lot to count on him to do that again. Contreras, good bat. I'm a little bit shaky behind the plate. Hoskins, sorry, no. Willie Adames, I would expect to bounce back a little bit, but not going to be enough. Ehrlich. Gary Sanchez is listed as the opening day DH. Really? I hope that's wrong. I do like Jackson Churio a little bit, which is why I took a flyer on him in our draft, and I know he made the roster and the starting lineup, so he has a lot of potential. But again, not enough there for me to get excited about when Freddie Peralta is probably the number one starter, who's okay, and I like him better as a third or fourth starter, but not a lot to get excited about after that. And your number one closer's out for the foreseeable future.
Half a season. Yeah. Wade Miley is their number two, and he's injured. Not for long, but he'll be back. Then you got Joe Ross, who hasn't stuck with 4 different teams. Colin Ray. DL Hall is who they got in the trade for Burns. He's never made it as a starter. He doesn't go long. He never knows where the ball's going. He throws 100, but he doesn't know where it's going. Their bullpen is still good. They got Uribe, they got Pamps, they got Milner, they got the other McGill. It's not Williams, but if they need relievers, they're going to do fine. Contreras, as you said, hits. I think Hoskins, he's a 3 true outcome guy, a little better than Gallo, but he'll provide some power.
Better than Tellez, who they had here last year. So.
Oh, God, yeah. But except for Yelich, as you say, it's the kids.
Yeah.
Frelick, who they were experimenting with at third base, but now they can't because Garrett Mitchell just got hurt. Who they were going to have in center.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I think the future may be much brighter than this year. I think they're not going to be very good this year, but I think they got a good return from Baltimore for Burns, and it's just not going to pan out, right away.
Well, one of them will. The infielder, Joey Ortiz. Yeah. They're going to need him at third now. And he's in there, and he's a rookie. Churio's a rookie. So that's their 2 big ones. They're going to bring up Tyler Black, I think, infielder. They're going to need another pitcher. That's going to be Robert Gasser, who's their number one starter in the minors. So I think the future's coming. It's not going to be this year.
Looking at the Cardinals, who had a really bad year last year, and I thought Marmol might be one of the guys in the hottest seats, and he signs an extension before the season even started. A little
I don't get
surprising
that.
there. They've already got some injuries in Newbar and Edman, and I mean they're counting on big bounce backs from Goldschmidt and
Arenado.
I just have a.
I
just have
thought I'd
this-
save you.
I just have this block. I can't say his name for whatever reason. I used to say it fine. And some kids. They need kids like Jordan Walker to really step up, and Dylan Carlson to show the potential that he showed before last year. But with the injuries, it looks like Matt Carpenter's starting opening day at DH, and that can't be a good thing.
Yep.
So, and again, the rotation with Gray down, everybody else moves up. It's not anything for me to get excited about this rotation. I mean, you got guys in there who've been cast off almost every team they were on last. Matz and Lynn. Again, Lynn looks like me out there. Did these guys do any kind of conditioning at all? It looks like me in a baseball uniform at 64 years old.
I wasn't thrilled about those additions. I didn't think Lynn and Gibson or Gray were going to be that great.
I did miss Gorman too, as a guy, a young guy they got to count on if they want to bounce back. I forgot about Gorman too.
Yep. They had another pitcher, Drew Rom, who they were going to insert. He's injured, along with Gray. They brought in Kittredge and Middleton to help with the relief. Middleton's already injured. They still got Wilson Contreras, who had a good second half and finally got acclimated. Gorman can slug. Got to see if he can hit for average. Shortstop's a problem. Their big rookies, Masson Wynn, and he's a great fielder. Lots of speed. Can't get on base to use it. And Walker, you talked about Jordan Walker. He just took out Carlson. Carlson's injured now. Going to be gone for a month at least.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. He slammed into him. He didn't back off on it. He dived for something, ran into Walker's leg, and that was out.
That's not good.
Yeah, so they had to bring up another one of their prospects, a guy that can fly like the wind, Victor Scott, the second. They just brought him up. He's going to actually start in center. When you got Donovan in left, that's not a great outfield. They need those guys back.
Yep, agreed. I've got this team finishing second and maybe getting pushed by Pittsburgh a little bit, quite frankly.
This is my division to have fun with you.
I know where you're gonna. I probably know where you're gonna go, and I think they're gonna be a disappointment. But I've got them. I've got the Cardinals second right now, and the team we're gonna talk about now. I've got first the Cubs. I've got the Cubbies finishing first. We know I love Craig Counsell, even though he relies on analytics a little more than I'd like. Not crazy about the way he got the job, but that's all.
Can't do
anything about it. So. But they got some guys I really like. I think Suzuki's going to be better and good in right field. I've liked Ian Happ for a long time. A guy I know the Yankees have wanted to bring in for the longest time and never could quite make a deal the times he's been available. Bellinger, another guy I would like to have seen in pinstripes this year. They got him on a really club-friendly deal, I think. Swanson, I expect to bounce back in his second year myself. I like Dansby Swanson a lot. And they got some guys like Horner and Morel, who I think are going to be really much better as well. They had a couple holes. I'm not sure, Mike Talkman is their DH to start the season, maybe because somebody's out that I know Patrick Wisdom is out, and somebody else that I'm not thinking of. But I like that, and their rotation. I think it's going to be better than you think. I think Steele at the top is really good. I think Hendricks is a serviceable major league pitcher still. Maybe not as your number two, but and I think there's some potential in Wicks and Emmett. I'll say that guy's wrong too.
Assad.
Say it for me. Amandia. Is your sound just going? You've been pretty good for the longest time.
I don't know, Manju. Yeah, all of a sudden,
There we go. We'll put it back when we have to. It was good for the longest time. So, your thoughts on the Cubs?
Hey, I'm back. I've got him first.
First, me too.
I've got him first. Steele and Hendricks, yeah. You forgot Imanaga.
No, that's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, Imanaga, yeah.
Yeah.
And Assad and
Guy I've
Wicks.
struggled with all year. I like Wicks. Yeah. I like this rotation. And Jamison Tyon is out there as well. He's hurt. I think he's hurt to start the season, but I think we'll see him in this rotation before long too. Why have I lost your voice again? Did I mute you? How about now? Well, technical difficulties continue with Drew. There we go. You're back.
What's going on there?
You're back.
Catching is for defense, Gomes and Amaya. Keep an eye on Bush, Michael Bush. They got him in the trade with the Dodgers. He's going to play first base, big slugger, learning the position. And he and Wicks are their two big rookies. Yeah, it's a good team. I got him for first.
I got him first as well. There you go. I was a little surprised we're on the same team there. Come up to the Pirates. Well, I think it's an interesting team. If O'Neill Cruz can stay healthy and make better contact, I think he's got great potential. If Brian Hayes can learn to lift the ball a little bit and get some balls out of the ballpark, he's a really good defensive player, like his dad. I like Sawinski in the outfield. I think he's better than you think. And I like a couple other pitchers. I like Mitch Keller a lot. I like Jared Jones a lot. I think this team is going to not set the earth on fire, but they're going to be better in the 75 that their over-under is projected for. And maybe push, as I said, the Cards a little bit for second place. I've got the team you probably like in fourth place. So
Okay.
sticking with the Pirates, what are your thoughts here? Is there any help here at all?
Yes, I've actually got him for third.
Okay. Which is where I have him right now.
Pitching staff is okay. Jared.
As soon as I do that, you go on mute. Keep talking. How much could we miss? It's important, right? I think we're going to have to go to subtitles for Drew tonight. You don't want to come back. There you are. I hear you breathing hard, so you must be there now.
I'm back now. We'll run this. I'll just talk fast.
Well, it's funny, that little adjustment that I do when you start to crackle now is also muting you for X amount of time as well. I don't know why. That's a new development.
Jared Jones making the team is good. He's a rookie. He'll be very good. Could be up for Rookie of the Year. Paul Skeens is going to come up later. That's going to make their staff even better.
Mm-hmm.
Relief staff is great. Bednar, Holderman, Chapman, Molitsky, I can't even say it. Molodzinski are better than you think. Henry Davis is going to be very interesting to see catcher.
Yeah, I agree.
Hayes is already hitting. He was hitting at the end of the last year. He's hitting well in spring training. Cruz, of course, is Cruz. Hey, you remember Tellez? He's here at first.
Yeah, that's the biggest hole in the lineup. I see that, and the fact that Andrew McCutcheon may have to play a little too much. I think he had a nice year last year coming back to Pittsburgh, but he can't play, every day.
Yeah. They keep an eye on Jared Triolo. He's their second baseman now, and he's pretty good. And they brought in Michael Taylor. I'm gone again. And now I'm back.
Keep going.
That's all I got. I got him for third.
That's as bad as your sound has gotten all night now. Hold on. I know you got them for third. The question's going to be, once I get you talking here again. Hold on. I'm having some serious issues today with I wonder if it's not StreamYard now, because I can't even unmute you. There you go. Now you're unmuted.
Should I go out and come back in again?
No, I don't think that's a problem.
I don't either, but
Stick this out here. So let's move on then to the team. I got a feeling you don't have fourth. I think you got the Cardinals fourth. I'm not sure. I've got this team fourth. The Reds. I love what they got going here. I think Matt McClain being hurt, and I hope it's not a long time, because I've got several fantasy teams with him being an important cog in them. I just think this team is going to take a little step back from where they were last year. They got a lot of young talent, obviously, in De La Cruz, who started fast and faded a little bit. I love Steer, can play pretty much everywhere, and he's got a really good bat, I think. I like Fraley. I like a lot of these guys. I'm not a big fan of Candelario. I'm not sure why they brought him in here, but as it turns out, they could probably use him. But Tyler Stevenson, the young catcher. A lot of this depends on the development of the kids continuing, like De La Cruz, and McClain needs to be healthy, which he isn't right now, we know. They're going to need Frankie Montas to pitch like he pitched in Oakland and not like he didn't ever pitch in New York. Hunter Green, Ashcroft, Andrew Abbott, Nick Martinez, all good young pitchers, and there's a lot of talent here. I just got a feeling there's a step back. And again, it's nothing but a gut feeling that the team takes a step back. But I think it's not going to be that far. The over-under for him is 82 or 81. I think they may be at that or just under, because I think all these teams, I think it's going to be very close, first to fourth in this team. Similar to one other division that I have really that close. I don't remember now. But anyway, it could be 85 to 81 between first and fourth in this division.
I agree with you. The pitching staff, you cover, and that doesn't include Nola, who are injured.
Yeah, no, I just keep talking. You're going to come back eventually. Maybe stay away from that one setting. Maybe it's it could be the gods are messing with you. I don't know, Drew. Got to come back eventually. Pop out and pop in. See what happens. Well, Drew goes out. To recap a little bit.
I'm going to leave and try it out and see if it changes.
Pop out and try pop back in. So while Drew does that, to recap a little bit, we've covered the American League East. We both like the Orioles to win and the Blue Jays to finish second. I think both to make the playoffs. The Twins in Detroit, 1 and 2 in the Central. Astros in Seattle, 1 and 2 in the West. And then we've covered the American League, and we're right in the middle of this. Central and National League.
Hey there.
Back to talk about his favorite team, the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep. Well, as we said, you covered a lot on the starting staff. The relief staff is kind of iffy. I mean, they brought in Pagan, they brought in Wilson. It could be really good. It could be god-awful. The infield's loaded, even with McClain being injured. The Candelaria move, which I wasn't in favor of because they had enough infielders, may work out. Keeping India, I thought they were going to trade him.
Yeah,
that may work out. Encarnacion Strand is going to slug like crazy at first base. They brought in Espinal from Toronto to make up for the McClain injury, and the outfield's
I'm about to have you take your headset off or something. I don't know what's causing our problem now. You know sign language, Drew? If only we had sign language people to, stand on the side and translate what you're saying. There you go. I hear you.
Do you?
But your mic is just terrible.
It is.
Oh, man. We're trying, guys. I apologize.
Yeah.
It's just, and then when I do that, you're gone, right?
The
Oh,
echo
you're there now.
cancellation, yeah.
Yeah, you're there now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Let's try and see what happens.
The best it's been for a while.
It is actually. I don't even hear my echo. That was throwing me off all night long. Outfield. Let's get this over with. Steer, Fraley, Benson, Fairchild, all very good. Friedel's injured, unfortunately. That's going to hurt him. And of course, the suspension on Noel v. Marte is going to hurt them, but they got enough. I still have them for second.
So to recap, you have them. I have.
Yeah, let's do this because I can't keep track of what you got.
Because this one's different. So you have the Cubs first. I have the Cubs first.
Right.
I have the Cardinals second.
I got them fourth.
You have them fourth. Through fourth. You got the Reds second. I got the Reds fourth.
Right.
We both have Pittsburgh third, and we both, I'm assuming, have the Brewers last.
Well, yeah.
That's all that's left. It's the only
Correct.
thing left. So let's move out west, and we'll start with the Dodgers, who would appear to be loaded. At least they were loaded until they paid all this money to Yamamoto and Ohtani, and to go along with all the money they're paying Betts and Freeman. And so luxury tax means nothing to these guys. They talk about the Cohen tax. We'll have to talk about the Dodger tax, because I got some concerns here, though. I love Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts made a decent move to second base last year. I think to ask him to now move to shortstop, which is a much more demanding position, is asking a lot of bets, and I think it's asking a lot of your pitching staff to have an outfielder playing shortstop behind you. You got the Ohtani thing that's going to follow them around at least for a little while yet to start the season. Max Muncy still can't hit over 200, but still contributes and still is playing. Somehow Jason Hayward, as good as his team is, somehow Jason Hayward's still in the starting lineup. Teoscar Hernandez maybe is a nice addition, maybe isn't. I mean, he's not that great a defender, and he didn't have that great a year offensively. James Outman somehow is still in the starting lineup. I mean, he has some intangibles, but I like him as a fourth outfielder, not a starter. Mm-hmm. And Gavin Lux has gone back to his natural position at second base after missing all last year. Yamamoto gets hammered in his debut. We have no idea I don't think that's going to be the norm, but we don't have any idea what he can bring. Kershaw's out for who knows how long. Glasnow pitched great in Tampa when he was healthy. Is he healthy? And how's he going to pitch in a bigger market? All question marks. James Paxton's your fourth starter. I don't get where this team is like 100 and they're 103. I don't get it. I don't know what I'm missing, but I just don't get it.
I have him for first. But everything you said is correct.
I have them first as well, but I don't get this is plus they haven't won, they haven't performed in postseason yet.
Well, we'll get to that.
I have them winning, but not by a lot.
Don't forget Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller's good.
He is a decent pitcher.
And their bullpen is really good.
And Walker Buehler should be back, which will help that rotation too. And I'm sure Kershaw will be back at some point.
Yeah, well, he's kind of halfway through.
Right.
The relief staff is excellent, even with Gratterall injured.
Yes.
And their catching is really good. So
there's some good things here, but it's amazing to me on a team that is talked up as much as this. You've got Outman and Hayward, to mention two guys, are in that starting lineup that are they're not outfielders.
I actually have them at 95 wins.
I got them around there too, because I think there's going to be a close, very close division. I think we'll go to the team that surprised a lot of people and got to the World Series last year in the Diamondbacks. I got a couple issues with the Diamondbacks as far as their success. Now, I understand they were outscored. The only team in the playoffs last year that was outscored during the regular season. They were like 30 home runs below the average team total, and they wanted to get more power, but they were successful because of the speed and contact and, playing some small ball, if there is such a thing anymore. But adding Peterson and Suarez, right? To this lineup, well, it might give you a little more pop. I think they only combined for like 30 some home runs last year. It isn't like they combined for 50. They're both swing and miss guys. They're going to strike out a ton. I don't know that their defense is enough. Peterson's horrible against lefties too. He's not going to hit lefties. He's probably not going to play against lefties, I would hope.
Correct.
I think this team is weaker than it was last year, even with Corbin Carroll, who's going to be better. Ketel Marte, I think, is still really good. They brought Gurriel back. Moreno, I think, is getting better behind the plate and at the plate. So there's some good things here, including the rotation with Gallen and Kelly specifically. Getting Rodriguez was a good pickup, but he's hurt. I'm still not sure about. I'll never say this guy's name right. Fat. What's his name? Fat?
It's Fat.
Is it? Is it Fat?
Well, with an F, so it's Fat.
I get it. No, I know. It is Fat. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe I got that right. I thought I was saying it wrong even last postseason.
Nope.
He came on and pitched well.
At the end. Yeah. He was awful before that.
Yeah. So, again, I think they're still a little weak. If Rodriguez comes back healthy, then they got 3 starters, which, again, is the most we can really hope for these days. But I think they've weakened their offense by putting Peterson and Suarez in the middle of it. I think this team falls back and finishes third.
Well, Suarez was to replace Longoria, who was So, I mean, it's a trade-off. They lost Pham, which I think hurt.
I think so too, yep.
They replaced him with Grichuk, who good fielder, swings from his heels. They're hoping for a bounce back from Thomas in the outfield. That's what they're hanging. And don't forget Christian Walker, who's legitimately underrated.
He is very underrated. I didn't even mention him when I talked about their lineup, so that's a giveaway right there.
And their relief staff is decent. You know, Seawold and Castro, Ginkel, Mantiply. It has the potential to be decent, but they may need them to pick up all the innings from the starters.
Yeah. And isn't Sewell, is he on the injured? Is he hurt to start the season? No, I thought I saw him on the injured list.
He's okay.
Well, I think this team will take a step back. I really do, and I think they'll finish third. We'll get into that. Okay. I got a surprise for you. Moving on to the Giants and their new manager. They finally got rid of the guy who used to, like, I don't know if he had a crystal ball or how he used to manage, but I was never a fan of Gabe Kapler myself.
He's in administration now for, who's he with, the Sox? Red Sox?
He might be. He played there for a long while, so maybe. I like some of the things the Giants have done here in the postseason. I like the lead kid from Korea. I like him a lot. Another guy I wanted to see the Yankees go after rather than Verdugo. I like Estrada as second base. I like Lamont Wade. Soler, I think, is a good pickup for them to give him a little pop. Signing Matt Chapman improves their defense because their defense at third base was horrendous. A little concerned about them dumping Crawford because I think Crawford still got a little in the tank. I think he went to the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken, replaced with Luciano. I still like Mike Yastrzemski. He's not going to be a superstar, but he's a solid guy. If this team gets pitching, and they did sign Blake Snell, who I didn't want with the Yankees, but he can pitch good sometimes. I like Logan Webb a lot. I think Jordan Hicks is underrated. I think this team is going to have a chance to surprise, and I've got them finishing second in the West, actually.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you why they won't.
That's okay.
All the names you brought up, you're right on point.
Of course. I didn't go to
no question about that. Their catching is not good.
Nope.
Can't hit. And Bart is on the clock, finally. Shortstop Luciano, their big rookie, was questionable at the position. They're giving him another shot. Relief staff has been gutted. That used to be the strength, and now it's Doval, Tyler Rogers, and then Prey. Kyle Harrison is their big rookie pitcher, still has rookie status. He wasn't great last year, but supposedly he straightened things out. So that could be good addition. And the Hicks experiment, I think, is going to flop. And the Snell move, picking him up is nice, but 31 mil a year for 2 years for this guy? No.
Well, we'll find out.
And he's got an opt-out. So he could be just a 1-year wonder for 31 million. Money they could have spent somewhere else.
They could have, but where are you going to spend it? There was no place to spend it by the time they
Because everyone kept turning him down.
Right. Well, Chapman and Snell you can put in that in the same bucket, I guess.
Yeah.
And again, I like their move in managers because I like Melvin a lot.
Yeah.
I think getting away from that whole mess that was in San Diego, which we'll talk about in a second, whether that's better or not. I think they've improved in the dugout as well. So I think this team may surprise, and I do have them in second place and in the playoffs, by the way.
Okay.
And Ralph Williams, hello, good evening. Ralph Williams from RW Media. I enjoyed being on your radio show this afternoon, or 5 o'clock today I was on. Enjoyed being on with him and Smoking Jim Frazier. Thanks for having me. Where we got to go now? We got to go to San Diego.
Yeah, where'd you have the Diamondbacks?
I have the Diamondbacks third.
Okay.
Giants second.
Okay.
Moving on to San Diego.
San Diego.
You know, there's still a ton of talent here. I mean, nobody talks about Manny Machado, and he's still having decent years, and looks like he's going to at least start the season at DH here.
Yeah, he was injured.
Bogart, they got a lot of guys moving around. Bogart's moving to second base. Cronenworth is going to play first base. You got the Kim, another Kim kid. Maybe I should stop calling them kids. I don't know. I'll probably get myself in trouble here. At shortstop, Jackson Profar, who has had about 1,000 chances, is going to get a chance in left field at least to start the season. Ex-Yankee Tyler Wade, your third baseman, which is one of the reasons I don't like the Padres. And Jackson Merrill is going to be the youngest opening day center fielder, at least in San Diego history, as far as I know.
Yep.
I do like their starting rotation because I think Michael King is going to be one of the sleepers in the National League this year. He's their fourth starter, listed as their fourth starter. Mm-hmm. They bring in Dylan Cease, who to me is going to be the number one here. Hugh Darvish is listed number one right now, but I think Dylan Cease will have a bounce back season in the National League this year. So I like, and Brito is their fifth starter, and you got Musgrave still there as well. So I like the rotation. Not sure about the bullpen. I've kind of left the bullpens up to you here to talk about. I'm not crazy about their bullpen. I think this team, again, I think this from the Dodgers, the Giants, Diamondbacks, and Padres, I think are similar, are going to be very bunched up, like I talked about in the Central. And I think one of them will come out of there with a wild card. And I think it will be the Giants. But I've got the Padres finishing fourth, around 83 wins.
Okay. I've got them actually doing the 83, yeah. But I've got them for third. The bullpen, we don't know. Suarez, Matsui, Willie Peralta could be decent, could be awful. Camposano is a young catcher. They've been waiting for him to knock out Nola, which he did. And he's got a lot of good potential. And you know who their backup catcher is because he came over in the Yankee trade. Infield you already went through. They hit, they steal, they field. It's great infield, except for Tyler Wade right now.
I'm not getting Tyler Wade.
Well, that's until Machado can get there.
Yeah.
Tatis, obviously, superstar. Profar, I've never been a fan of. Jackson Merrill's going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate. No question. But they don't have a lot of depth for the outfield. That's the problem.
I have them fourth. Where do you have them?
I've got them third.
Chris F. Grave has already got us with a Rockies pick here.
These guys are always ahead of us.
Putting up some great numbers there in Colorado. Colorado's going to maybe chase 120 losses themselves this year. Bud
Oh,
Black.
yeah.
Bud Black, if I feel bad for Bud Black. He's not a bad major league manager, and he's got to be wishing he'd get fired because year after year he's stuck with a team that doesn't even try to win. This team did nothing to improve themselves this year, in my mind. Trying to find my notes on them because I think I skipped by them somehow. Where are they? Maybe I dropped them right off. I don't even think they belong in the league, so I dropped them off my notes.
Okay, well, I can cover it.
There they are. Charlie Blackmon, again, he finished, I think he graduated 3 years behind me, not a couple of years. He's been around forever. Nolan Jones, I like a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential. Brandon Rogers, not a bad ball player. Chris Bryant, worst move by a Major League Baseball player that I can remember in recent history, going to the Rockies. Ryan McMahon, okay, not great. Nobody else is any good. Who's this guy? Who did Chris bring up here?
Jake King? Jake Cave.
Jake King.
No.
Gonna be.
It's Jake Cave. He corrected it. He's right.
Oh, okay.
But he's not going to be a Larry Walker.
Okay, Jake Cave. Yes, Jake Cave. Yeah, he's great. I was playing a MLB game on my phone, and he's actually on the Yankees somehow. He got on there, and he's a really good ball player on my phone. I don't know how good he's going to be in real life, but my phone, he's really a good ball player. So he might be a good ball. I think he was with the Indians organization, I think, at one point, Cave. So he's got some potential. But again, the starting rotation, Kyle Freeland's still there and the number one starter. Exhibit A.
Freeland, Quantrill, and Gomber, and who cares?
And what's the point? The bullpen is going to be protected. There's no leads to protect, probably, with that rotation.
Oh, Lawrence, Kidley, Beeks, Bard won't protect the starters who can't even get out of the fourth inning.
I don't know where the runs are coming from, and I don't know where the outs are coming from. And this team does nothing year in and year out to get themselves better. And as I said, Bud Black, if I were him, I'd be begging to get fired here by Memorial Day, for crying out loud.
It's funny you said that because I wrote down they had the quietest offseason of any team in the MLB. Apparently, it's hard to improve on a disaster.
Right, and they had the most to do, and they did the least. So I just don't understand. If you're
they don't have rookies of note. You know me, I like to find rookies. Yeah. They got nobody. It's really Tovar at short, who they just signed to an extension. Nolan Jones and Brett Doyle, and that's it.
It's a sad situation, man.
It's very.
I don't know any Rockies fans, and maybe that's because there are none. I don't know, but it's really too bad what they've done here. Maybe Chris has got some other pearl of wisdom here. Preston Wilson, kind of forgotten name in Rockies history. They could use
ex-Met.
He'd be a superstar right now. He was a Met. He
was
a Marlin. Yeah. Preston Wilson was a decent ball player in his day.
He was. A couple of years.
So anyway, I've got them last. So I've got the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I've got the Giants, which I know you have.
I got them fourth.
Drew has them fourth. I have the D-backs third.
I've got them second.
You have them second. I have the Padres fourth. You must have.
I got them third.
And we both have the Rockies somewhere in the Mexican.
Yeah, we got the ends the same again, but the middle's different.
They'll be in the somewhere in the Mexican League. I've got the Giants. I've got the Dodgers and the Giants making the playoffs here. So anyway, as we've completed the division, let's go back and recap who we have in the playoffs. American League. Give me your American League. Well, we know who you've got.
Our divisions.
Orioles. You've got the Orioles. You've got the Twins. Let me put that too. Orioles, Twins, and Astros.
Right.
Your wild cards are
Blue Jays, Mariners, Rangers.
And I've got the Orioles, Twins, and Astros. I've got Seattle, Detroit.
You still got to pick one now.
I'm going to take the Blue Jays just because. So I've got the Blue Jays.
See, I thought I got the Blue Jays, and I picked the Rangers over the Tigers. I like the Tigers, as you know.
Yeah, I do.
But I think when those pitchers come back, mid-season, the Rangers will squeak in.
We'll see. I think it'll be a close fight. So
Yeah.
I have, coming out of all of that, I'm going to have the Orioles and Astros playing in the ALCS, and the Orioles going to the World Series against the team I pick, or I should say rather than the team I pick every year in the American League, the Astros.
I have the Orioles going to the World Series as well.
There we go. Look at that. In the National League, we all have the same, again, the division winners.
Those are easy. No, yeah, that's right. We do the Cubs.
Yep. Yeah, Cubs, Atlanta, and the Dodgers. So who are your...
I've got the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, and the Reds.
D-backs and Reds. We got a couple differences there. So
yeah,
I do have the Phillies. I have the Cardinals. And I have the Giants.
Okay.
And in the NLCS, I have the Dodgers and the Braves. And the Dodgers coming out of it. As much as I keep saying I don't get it, I'm one of the guys that doesn't get it, apparently. The Dodgers going to play the Orioles in the World Series.
Okay, I got the Braves.
And the Orioles will win the World Series.
I have the Braves over the Orioles.
If you're still with us, Kenny, I took your Orioles to win. Drew will take the Braves to beat the Orioles. This is Drew. Braves over Orioles.
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's, well, we got a little, let's see, we got any comment? I got some comments here, maybe. Or Chris, what do you got? I can't read. I had to change my glasses. My other glasses.
Got Jason Hayward to be one heck of a bat off the bench.
Well, right now
he's not off the bench. He's starting.
If he was my fifth outfielder, I'd be happy. But
and he's not a great bat. Great fielder.
But again, with all this, and I keep knocking him, but I think Walker Buehler gets healthy. Mm-hmm. I think that rotation gets better than what I'm looking at now. James Paxton won't be in it, by hopefully June. And this team will find a way. Even though I keep going, it's not so much I don't think they can win or they're a good team. It's that people talk about them like, they're the next coming of the 2070 Yankees. And
no,
I don't see that.
But they got a good manager too.
Right. So I got them losing to the Orioles in the World Series. So let's pick a couple of award winners here. Let's start with the obvious one we should do, the American League MVP. What are your thoughts there?
I've got three names for candidates. I got Witt.
I like Witt.
I got Soto.
I like Soto.
And I have Lewis as a candidate. Yeah. I think if he's healthy, I mean, that's a caveat for virtually every player. But if he's healthy, this kid's going to slam.
Interesting.
But my actual pick is Soto.
I was on Soto, and I came off Soto only because I think the Yankees are going to not win enough for him to win. I had Soto and Judge in my rankings. I've got Witt there. I like Witt a lot. I think the Royals surprise. If they become the surprise team and not Detroit, which I don't think will happen, Bobby Witt will be an MVP candidate.
Well, Judge and Ohtani won it without good teams.
I ended up with J-Rod here only because I think Seattle makes the playoffs and the Yankees don't, and that was the deciding factor between him and Judge or Soto, which was a coin flip for me, Judge and Soto. I think they help each other a lot. If Judge, you got to stay in the field though, so I'll take J-Rod, and Drew has
Soto.
National League MVP. Obviously, the favorite's going to be Acuna. I think Freddie Freeman is a guy you got to talk about. I think Mookie Betts, obviously, is a guy you got to talk about. Maybe even Tatis, if the San Diego's going to do anything. Tatis is going to have that kind of year. I think Acuna falls back a little bit, and it kind of hurts the perception that I talked about. He'll probably still have a great year, assuming he's healthy. I know he had some knee problems in the spring, which hopefully aren't going to be a problem. I think Freddie Freeman wins this MVP award.
Certainly worthwhile. I mean, I had a lot more names as possibilities in the NL.
Throw 'em out there.
I had Acuna, I had Freeman, I had Ohtani,
Yep.
I got Harper, Betts, Carroll, Tatis.
Do you think Ohtani can win this just as a DH?
Yes. If he hits well enough.
Have a big year.
But he's not my pick.
He's hitting in Dodger Stadium, too. Besides,
I know. But he's looking good still. So, and that's coming back from his injury and with everything swirling around.
I think he's betting on. Oh, never mind. That was.
Oh, boy.
I didn't mean to say that. That was.
And my pick is actually Acuna.
Acuna
To repeat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. American League Cy Young. You got candidates like Castillo. I mentioned sleeper, like what's the guy's name? Scoble from Detroit. You gotta. Cole's not going to pitch enough. Obviously, even coming back. Corbin Burns, I think, is going to be a candidate for sure. And George Kirby is a dark horse, maybe in Seattle. Just some names to throw out there. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and take the kid from Detroit.
Okay. Scooble's a good pick.
I like Scooble.
As long as he stays healthy.
Right.
All good names. We could throw Lopez in there.
Lopez I gave some thought to, yep.
But I actually don't think Burns is going to work out in Baltimore. I think the lame duck nature of his contract and the new environs and pitching to people he doesn't know, I think he's not going to be as good as people think.
As far as the contract goes, I think new ownership may make something happen there with Burns.
They should.
I think they will. And that could make a difference in his performance, too.
Correct. If they sign him early enough, which I don't think they'll do, I think he's going to hold out. I don't think he's a Boris client, but still. But if they could sign him early, then I think his performance would be better. But he's not my pick. I got a real surprise pick here. I'm picking Grayson Rodriguez.
Grayson Rodriguez?
Yes.
That is way out of left field.
Yep.
All right.
Every now and then you got to do one of those.
What's Chris? I'll get to your comeback.
Who did you pick again?
I picked
Curb.
No.
Oh no, Scooble.
Scooble.
Yep. Okay.
Gill at the back end of the rotation, fastball slider pitcher reminds me of Rodney.
Fernando Rodney.
Yeah.
In his prime.
I hope that's the case. So we'll get to your comeback player.
You missed his Mike Moustakas comment,
I said I go back.
and he is not a comeback player of the year.
When I do
he's not even on a team right now.
We'll refer back to that when we do comeback player of the year. National League Cy Young. Wheeler, I think, is at the top of that list. Who else? I mean, I love him so much. Strider is going to get some consideration, I'm sure. Webb, I think, in San Francisco is a potential candidate. I'm trying to read the rest of my writing here. Isn't that awful? Can't read my own freaking writing. Isn't that crazy? It doesn't matter because
I know a translator you can use.
Right. Yeah. You know, Pete Rose is just one translator away from being in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter who my other possibilities were because Zach Wheeler is my Cy Young winner in the National League.
Okay. I'm going with Strider, actually.
Strider. I took him the last 2 years, I think, and didn't get me anywhere. The American League Rookie of the Year. Wyatt Langford. Evan Carter, Jackson Holiday. I'm sure he's going to play enough to be considered. Would be the strongest candidates. I'm sure you get some others in mind. I'm going to go with Evan Carter.
Okay. Colton Cowser is also going to be up for the Orioles.
Yeah.
Tiedemann, I think they're going to need in Toronto. He's got like a 98 mile an hour fastball. Parker Meadows on the Tigers, I think is a shot. And Colson Montgomery, who isn't even up yet, but the probable shortstop in a couple of months for the White Sox. Everyone loves Carter. There's a lot of good reason to. but his strikeouts are high. He still can't hit lefties. I actually think his compatriot is going to overtake him, Langford.
Langford.
Even though he's coming up afterwards, I think Langford's going to do it.
Well,
he's more complete.
He'll have plenty of time to do it for sure.
Oh yeah.
In the National League, we talked about Merrill in San Diego. Yamamoto's obviously going to get a lot of consideration, assuming he doesn't get knocked out in the first inning every night. Churio, I think in Milwaukee will, if he again meets his potential like anybody. It's very difficult coming up with rookie of the year picks in my mind. But just because I like the guy and I got to root for him, I want Jackson Churio to win this. That's how I came up with this selection.
Okay, that's because you drafted him.
Right.
The big names are going to be Waldrop if they bring him up with the Braves, which I think they'll need. Wood and Cruz, I mentioned, from the Nationals. Big sluggers, great fielders. Michael Busch with the Cubs, I think, is going to do well this year, given the opportunity. Jared Jones and Paul Skeens, depending upon when they bring Skeens up, those pitchers are going to be dynamic for the Pirates. Ortiz, the kid that the Brewers got in the trade, that's going to be forced to play third base, supposedly has a lot of potential. And you mentioned Churio and Merrill. Merrill's holding, everyone's talking about them bringing up these other guys at 21. Half these guys are 20. Churio's 20, Merrill's 20. I mean, oof. But my pick actually is Churio.
Oh, look at that. Churio.
Pip, pip.
Churio.
Pip, pip, Churio.
Manager of the year. I'll let you go first this time.
I got AJ Hinch in the AL.
As do I. I had Hinch and Baldelli, and I've taken Baldelli like 2 years in a row, and I will take AJ Hinch myself. So will Drew. National League.
I got to go with Council, although I'd much prefer David Bell.
Well, if they do as well as you think, you should take David Bell, I think. But you know what? I'm gonna say Bob Melvin.
Okay.
And I had Council again, another guy I've picked like 5 years in a row. But since you picked him, I said, let me take my second choice. I'll take Bob Melvin. Now to, and by the way, there's a vote for Rodriguez out of Chris F. Grave up there in Toronto. And here's his comeback player of the year again, Mike Moustakas. Where is that? So I do not think Mike Moustakas will be comeback player of the year.
He's not on a team.
I know you got. Well, maybe that's the best thing for him, and maybe that gets him the award all by itself. In the American League, I think there's tons of candidates. It's not going to be Carlos Rendon, I can tell you that, but it will be a Yankee. Anthony Rizzo is the American League comeback player of the year, supposedly, or appears to be past all those concussion syndrome issues that he had last year that got him shut down and really killed his season even before that. I'll take him in the American League.
Okay. I had three names for the American League. Rizzo, Vinny Pasquantino, who was injured, and Jorge Polanco, who was injured. I took Polanco.
There's another guy. It's a good pick too. And there's another guy that I should have mentioned that I think could win the award if he actually plays 140 games. Even though he had 30 some home runs last year, Mike Trout could be the comeback player of the year.
He could.
He might have the best numbers from any player that ever won a comeback player of the year if he were to get it. But
I don't think he will.
He's got to play the games. In the National League, there's a couple. There's Diaz, obviously. There's Walker Buehler. Brian Hoskins, I suppose, is a candidate. Chris Sale would be a candidate. But I'm going to go with Walker Buehler, because I think he's going to get back here maybe May, and I think he's going to be a big reason the Dodgers win this.
Okay.
Buehler.
I had Reese Hoskins, Edwin Diaz, Jazz Chisholm, and O'Neal Cruz. And I'm taking Cruz.
Good one. That's a good one too. Cruz it is. All right, cool. What else, Drew? What are your final thoughts? We went through a lot of stuff here. Let me see. Let me give one more. Joey Gallo is a tremendous athlete who only needs to choke up on the 2 strikes. Rizzo, why? Joey Gallo's not winning.
Rizzo's a much better hitter than Gallo.
Although, I mean, the bar set so low, Gallo could win it if he hits 30 home runs and manages to hit 220. But
no, then they'd give it to Schwarber.
Right. Anyway, Chris, I have my own reasons for hating Joey Gallo because, we traded a lot to get this guy and he produced absolutely nothing. I will never root for him. Anthony Rizzo's a great pick. Juan Gonzalez.
There's a name from the past.
Right.
He was a steroid guy, wasn't he?
Well, I don't think he was officially a steroid guy, but suspicion of. Last thoughts, Drew.
It's going to be an interesting season. The reason you hate Rookie of the Year is because it's almost always not a top one. It's some guy that comes out of the middle of nowhere and pitches or hits great. But I think we've come up with some good ones.
I think so.
I tried. The thing I love coming up with the rookies because they frequently have impacts, especially now with teams trying to control budgets. So that's why I always bring those up when we cover each team. And a lot of them showed up here. It's going to be some tight races, particularly in the AL.
Well, I appreciate you joining me tonight. I appreciate everybody that watched and commented. And those that will watch us later, you can comment. And we'll certainly keep these picks handy for the Friday MLB updates. They won't be relevant for a while, but we'll have some fun. We'll have some fun with it. Every time I tried to bring it up last year, I'm like, where the hell did I put that piece of paper? So I'm going to put this thing right to my wall.
Don't worry, I got it.
So I don't lose it. So, but Drew, I do appreciate you coming in. Everybody, Orioles win the World Series. That's not easy for me to say. And I want to be able to say Yankees one year. So
I got the Braves, so I'm not worried.
Last word for me is Yankees be bad enough so Aaron Boone is not the manager next year. Thank you, and good night. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.